Okay, hello and welcome to another game on our climb to 2000 Elo. Unfortunately, I lost a couple of games because of the sound of construction outside my flat. So they were unusable. I tried to edit the drilling and hammering out, but to no effect. So what's going on here? Our opponent looked like they were going to play the French defense, but again, they've just looked to develop their queen nice and early, attacking my f2 square. Is this a problem? Well, if I try and develop my knight to f3, kicking the queen, they're going to jump in and take my e4 pawn. The same is true if I just play g3. This pawn falls. So how do I deal with this? Develop a knight, defend it like this. What's going to happen after that? They're going to pin the knight. That's going to be really annoying. Then if I play this, they're going to capture, and I'm going to capture, and then they're going to win the pawn anyway. So this is a little bit tricky. This is a little bit tricky. We're going to develop the knight anyhow. And then we're going to play bishop to d3. And after captures, we're going to have a nice strong central pawn chain. Okay, so my opponent comes here hitting this pawn. But again, you're helping me to get moves that I already want. So I can push, or I can play knight f3. I mean, notice how knight f3 looks after the pawn as well. And that's me very, 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 very close to being fully developed. And my opponent has done nothing but move their queen around numerous times. Okay, the queen moves again. We can push here and attack the queen, but not before I castle, because now the queen hits this. So we castle to avoid that, and my opponent realizes that I'm not going to be checkmated in 2 or 3 moves, and now they're going to realize that I'm taking all the space on the board, and they have absolutely no attack. And now I can play here attacking c7, which would be lovely, and after I do that I can play this and hit the bishop. I mean, bishop can come back here. I mean, or you can shift your king over. I'm just gonna take the full center from my opponent and watch out not to trap my own knight. But the knight has an escape square here, so that's okay. And oh, look at this! Look at this pinning. So you're gonna have to play this, then this, then this. It's kind of helping you to develop, actually. I mean, really. So do I want to do that? I'm not sure. Maybe I prefer this, allowing me to advance the f pawn. Because if I pin the queen, you just solve it with this. And after captures, if knight captures, captures, I'm kind of unraveling there a little bit. Helping my opponent to unravel, I should say. So I actually maybe prefer knight to g5, facilitating f4, f5, and breaking in this way, and also queen f3, striking in the center like this. All right, so this is a little bit of a weakening move, which I don't mind so much. I don't mind this so much at all. There is also here just the really nasty, well, in fact, I'm going to play it. The really nasty queen h5. If you take, you lose the rook. If you push g6, I can just drop back, and that's not really, you know, changing the shape of anything significant. I'm wondering if I actually just sack the bishop. Takes. Ah, but then takes. Oof. Oof. But then this does pin the queen to the king. Would we see that? I don't know. Here, 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 and then you're going to take here. Then I'm going to go here. Then you're going to be pinned to the queen. I mean, to the king. Your queen is going to be pinned to the king. Thank you for the subscription. That is lovely. Let's do it, because I think that's what's going to happen. This is probably inaccurate, but I think it's going to happen. Yeah, it just happened. So the engine's going to hate me for that, I think. But it was instructive, I think, wasn't it? I don't know. I hope it was. Subscribe anyway. That would be really lovely. Yeah, so this. But the problem is, this comes with a check, right? you know? So, check. Now you're hanging your knight if king takes, because I can't take the rook because of this. But you hang the knight. So, voila. We're out. And that's lovely. And now, check. You hang the rook. Where's the rook going? Here? I'm holding on to that. Yeah, I'm holding on to that. What's the best way to do this? If I check like this, I get a pass pawn. And you still can't come out here because of the knight, so I'm gonna take like that. And if this, I've got this check. And that's really nasty. Really nasty. So I think that's just mate. Isn't that lovely? All of this is covered, this is covered, this is covered. Good game. Okay, let's have a quick look at the analysis there. After e4, e6, I was expecting that once I played d4, we were going to see d5, which would be the French defense. But my opponent moves in for this early queen attack. Now, of course, we discussed why I couldn't play knight f3 here, because the pawn would be hanging on e4, so I protect that pawn with knight c3. Now, I'm able to eventually play knight f3, attacking the queen, but I was expecting this pin. Because of the pin, the same problem exists if I play knight f3. My opponent can capture here, checking my king. Because the knight is pinned, I wouldn't be able to recapture, and I'd have to interpose with my queen and then lose a pawn after queen takes, bishop takes, and then bishop takes. Here, I lose a pawn and end up with some fairly ugly doubled pawns there. So I just defend the pawn now with bishop d3. There's an idea like this in the Vienna opening where we say, go ahead and double my c-pawns. But I'm going to get this lovely, strong center with a pawn on c3, d4, and e5 eventually. And of course, this does now let me play knight f3 to kick my opponent's queen, because this is taken care of. It's defended very nicely by the bishop. So my opponent brings the queen back. I'm now just allowed to develop another piece. They swing the queen to g6. So I would like to play e5, attacking the queen like this, but first I have to take care of my g2 pawn, which is hanging, but of course I can solve that by playing a move I want to play anyway, which is to short castle. Now there's no queen attack, and I am preparing e5 with a discovered attack on my opponent's queen. They're going to be moving their queen yet again. This is dreadful for my opponent. I'm getting everything exactly where I want it, and they are achieving absolutely nothing. So they move the queen to f6, and I'm able to kick it again, and they have to draw back. And here, I mean, this is just completely losing for my opponent. It took me just a second to realize that I can just play queen h5 here. This is a very common motif when your opponent's king isn't castled, which is that you can't take the knight because you drop the rook. And actually, after g6, I suspected maybe the engine wouldn't like this sack, but it's actually very strong indeed. We can capture two pawns. We're now up in our opponent's face, and they still can't capture the knight. Not because they hang the rook this time, but because I can pin the queen to the king. Now, my opponent played rook h6, and I pointed out that this doesn't really work despite being a strong move on the surface, because we can take here with check and then win the knight. What I actually overlooked was I simply have mate in one. I saw this queen takes knight move, but just thought, oh, well, they drop back, completely neglecting the fact that the whole point of the bishop's position here is that it pins the queen. So this is simply mate, but it really doesn't matter, because after bishop takes, king takes, and we take the knight, this is just completely crushing, and we got a mate very soon anyway, like this. I hope this is yet another example. I mean, we're seeing this so much in the below 1000 elo range. Queens coming out early, but I hope this is another example that this really doesn't work. Yes, you can find examples of people losing this way. You can YouTube how to quickly checkmate your opponent in 3 or 4 moves, and more often than not, that is going to be an early queen attack, but it is absolutely contingent on your opponent playing poorly. If you know how to defend against these early queen attacks, you're just going to get a crushing center. You're going to develop all of your pieces nice and smoothly and have a very, very good game. So good luck beating your opponents who try this against you. Take care, and as always, I will see you in the next one.